Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Catherine Joe Show. I am your host, Catherine. It's wonderful to be back with y'all. And today I want to talk about the topic of inspiration and how I've seen inspiration work in my life. And so I want to tell you a story about how inspiration has actually helped me get to one of my dreams. And a little background is I have been writing stories since I learned how to string letters together in a sentence. And honestly, I can thank in part my competitiveness and my older sister, one of my older sisters, because my sister Stephanie is a writer, period. She's a writer. She's got a talent that I can only wish I had with writing. And I would see her always writing. And so I wanted to write my stories. Believe it or not, I think my first attempt was a Star Trek fan fiction. I was raised on Star Treks and Star Wars and all of those. Anyway, yeah, I vaguely remember that was the general topic. But the point is, I love writing, and I've always wanted to publish. And I've written a bunch of stuff that I look back at now, and I'm like, whoo. I have exactly one short story that I absolutely love. And I think I still have it somewhere saved on a thumb drive, but I have to find the thumb drive now. But the point is, writing and publishing has been a dream for me. So I want to tell a specific story about how inspiration has brought me to the point where I'm literally a few months away from having that dream realized, having a book published. And there's a story behind it because I feel like there's a story behind everything that inspires us to keep pushing through and keep going. There's always a story behind it, how that inspiration came to be. And I feel like, at least for me, inspiration is generally tied quite often to a place. And in this particular instance, that place is a 12th century castle in Ireland. And I'm going to take you back to 2022. I had an amazing blessing and ability to go to Ireland, and I met a friend who was there, who lives over there. And one of the evenings I had been in his town, we were just hanging out, and I had to get back into Dublin. Now, I could take an Uber. They are very expensive to go between this town. It's called Swords, Swords. Beautiful little town. I highly recommend that if you're in Ireland, then you go visit this cute little town. Because I discovered it has its own castle. So there we are standing. It's a dark, rainy night. We're standing by the bus stop and going over like the bus schedules, trying to figure out if I could get one of the buses back without having to wait too long. And as we're standing there, I see through the rain and the darkness what looks to me a castle wall. And I was like, hey, is that a castle? And he kind of glanced up. He's like, yeah. Then went back to his phone looking at the timetables. And I'm thinking, well, you're kind of blasé about it. But I guess if you grow up in Ireland, you're inevitably going to have a castle in your town, I feel like. And that's what he grew up with. It was not a big deal for him. For a girl from the United States where castles are not quite so ubiquitous, I can say that word, we don't have them, basically. Very, very few and none from the 12th century. It was something that grabbed my attention. Now, I was not able to go explore that castle during that first visit. And I was like, oh, please, Lord, let me have another chance to go back there. And if I do, I want to stay in this town. I want to explore this town, and I want to see that castle. And I don't know why. I think it was just the idea that in the middle of this modern town is a 12th century castle, like just kind of stuck there, right there in the middle. And I was like, I want to see this. And so fortunately, I was very blessed for the next year in 2023. I got another chance to go back there. So I spent part of my trip in Swords. And the second night that I was there, I got a chance to walk down to where the castle was. And it was closed because it was later in the evening, but you could still see it. Like it's twilight and they had lights lighting it up. So I'm standing on the corner And I'm looking at it and I realize, wait a second, there's a stoplight right in front of this castle. The main road that goes through the middle of town tees at the castle at a stoplight. There's literally a castle by the stoplight. And I just started laughing because, again, from the United States, this is just so outside my realm of understanding, what I've experienced in my whole life. And so I remember taking a video, and I know I still have that video on my phone, where I'm like showing the castle and the outsides, the ruined part and the restored part. You could see different parts of them. And I was laughing. I'm like, look, it's a castle, ancient 12th century castle, stoplight, cars by the stoplight, zooming by the ancient castle. It blew my mind. I was like, I have to see the inside of this place. I have to, because the inspiration, I think, fully started at that point. I mean, the curiosity started on my first trip, but now we're like, I'm like, there's got to be a story. There's got to be stories involved with this castle. And so the next day, I believe it was the next day, in the afternoon, I took myself back down, because this is the wonderful thing, is it's such a walkable area. I walk back down to the castle and I'm able to go inside, and I probably spent a good hour just walking around. And here's the thing, it's not like this big, massive, built up home within the walls. It's old. It's ancient. It's 12th century. So, and they have, part of it has been restored and part of it hasn't yet. So you have this interesting combination of unrestored crumbles with restored beauty. And even the unrestored is, I think, even more beautiful. So they had restored the chapel, which is gorgeous. They'd restored one of the towers, which is so beautiful, and parts of the curtain walls, like 2 sides of the curtain walls, and you could actually go up on the curtain walls. And what I think really just kind of pulled me in, other than everything about it that I was looking at, and the inside was this big, inside the walls is this big open area, grassy mostly, with some paths and some trees. And of course, places to sit. And so I go into the chapel and I'm looking around, and they actually have a group of traditional Irish music players. They're playing, not singing, but playing instrumental Irish music. And it was gorgeous. I mean, talk about inspiration building. I could feel the creative juices just starting to flow, even though I didn't know where they were going to pour forth into. And I remember sitting there for a long time, just soaking in that music, and this beautiful chapel with the stained glass windows have been restored. It was gorgeous. So I go outside and I'm just walking through the grass. I'm literally walking through the inside perimeter and the parts of the curtain walls that are still in ruins, that haven't been restored. And honestly, I think those are my favorite parts. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a cute corner. One of the corners of the castle. And I took a few pictures, but nothing really, I was doing more wide angle pictures of the area. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cute. And in my mind, I'm thinking, there's something here. There's something here that's picking at me that needs to come out as far as inspiration goes. And then I remembered I was laughing about the night before when I took the video, going, it's a castle by a stoplight. It's a castle by a stoplight. I was laughing so hard because, again, it just blew my mind. And so I was like, that's a story. Just that right there. A castle by a stoplight. That's a story. I know it's a story. And immediately I was like, it's a kid's story. It has to be a kid's story. But I wasn't getting everything that I needed to come to my mind. I'm like, no, it's a kid's story. And I knew I wanted the castle to be a character. And so I end up going home after that trip, and I'm overflowing with this inspiration. And I start working on a story. And the story, it takes about a year for it to fully fledge out. I went through several edits and versions of it. And finally, I'm like, okay, I have it. I've run it by a lot of people. This is the story. I need to find an illustrator. So much easier said than done, especially when you are broke. It is so much easier said than done. And it took a while, and it wasn't actually until after my third visit to Ireland and my second visit to the castle that I did eventually find an illustrator that I swear is like picking the images out of my head. It's beautiful. But so I've got the story finished, and I know I want to create a series about this. So I know the series title. I've got the first story written, but I'm blanking on every time I tried to write a second or third or any other stories, I blank. I can't. The inspiration is just like disappeared. The desire is there, but the inspiration for the story has just disappeared. So third time, again, 2024, total blessing. I now have it in my head that I have to like beg God for the blessing to go back to Ireland each year because I love it there. It is my happy place. It is the place where all stress and anxiety just goes away, and I can just be calm and happy there. And so the third time I get to go in 2024, I just like set up camp with my journal at one of the picnic tables. And here's the beautiful thing. I mean, inspiration, and this location was my inspiration because I'm sitting in the middle of this historic ancient spot, and I can feel the stories around me. I can feel all the lives over the centuries lived in and around that place. It's like it comes alive in my brain. And I know it's all my imagination. I'm not trying to be historically accurate, but that's the whole point of fiction. You don't have to be historically accurate, but your inspiration can come from that place. And so you are basing your stories on this inspiration in this place. And I remember just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I'm literally just looking around. And I start doing a more detailed look. Instead of seeing the big picture, I start focusing in. And I look at the tree that's kind of behind me and off to this big, beautiful tree. And I was like, oh, I come up with a story idea. So I write down the idea, and then I find myself outlining with bullet points what I want the story to be. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And I'm looking around, and I'd hear different stories from my friend who lives over there about the castle and historical parts of it and everything, and talking to the women who are there and running it when it's open. And so I'm looking at just part of the curtain wall, and all of a sudden I see stalls of things like, oh, I can't remember the name. So like where they sell food, or you're going to have the smithy or something like that. And I'm like, oh, another story. And again, I tried just writing down like a general line or two, but no, it turns into a whole outline for the story. I think I did that. I ended up with 6 ideas and 3 outlines just written. And what was really amazing is at one point, there was a woman there with a young boy with disabilities. He was in a wheelchair. And she just came and sat with him. I found out later on she was his caretaker. And we had a nice chat because she was playing this beautiful, beautiful classical music piece. I don't know what the piece was, but it just played it over and over for about an hour. We're all just sitting in our separate places. And this young boy is just, the happy sounds that came out of him were just beautiful, like added to the music. And I'm like, all of this together, the location, the history, the people around me, the music, it's just spilling. The inspiration is spilling out of me and onto the page. And I loved it. And it's wonderful. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm going to have a whole series of these books. It's going to work. I'm going to make this happen. This is my dream. Oh, the inspiration. I'm not kidding when I say it was overwhelming. And I ended up coming back again another time and just again spent until it started to rain, spending most of the afternoon writing out these outlines and writing out, a brief idea, the first draft of some of the stories, and just having a grand time and just loving the inspiration and going, oh my gosh, why can't I move over here? I'll just write and write and write. And it was amazing. It was amazing that the inspiration came from my location. Stories are inside of me, but the inspiration that brought them out was my location, and it was so strong. It was almost like I can't ignore this. And that's what I love about just true, strong inspiration. You let it carry you, and it's amazing where it will take you. So I get back, and I'm trying to work on these stories. I got another rough draft written on another one, but I'm like, I really need to focus on finding the illustrator. And then I meet Genevieve, and we started talking about it. And her ideas, the sketches that came out, I'm like, that's it. That's it. That's exactly what I want. You're taking the images from my head and you're putting it on paper. So now we are in the middle of, she's drawing, she's the illustrator. I'm the writer, she's the illustrator. I can't draw. But it's a collaborative work. What do we want here? What do we want on this page? We're in the middle of getting all the illustrations together. And because of this inspiration that gave me this drive, I'm like, I'm not going to give up. It felt like it was never going to happen for like 2 years. I've had this story either in my head or on paper. And that I think is so important, is in inspiration, you don't give up. If that inspiration is that strong, you can't give up. You may get frustrated. You may be ready to just put it all away every now and then, but you can't. You want to say, oh, I'm done. But you can't say that because the inspiration is so strong. When you have that inspiration, follow it. Let it take control. And I mean, now our plan is 2025. No, I haven't made it back to Ireland, but I'm still hoping. I'm hoping to be able to go for a week in October. I have no idea how, but I am hoping that somehow a way comes about, because I want to write more. And the inspiration for location does not translate to the US that easily for me. I can't put myself back in a castle. But that book, right now, our plan is to have it, we are self-publishing through a publishing friend of mine, and we are planning to have it sent to be published by mid-August. What is my dream? My dream is to take a stack of those published books, The Castle by the Stoplight, copyrighted, and take it and have it over in Ireland and I do have friends who are helping me figure out ways that we can get it over there and have it available for people over there to be able to read to their kids. It's a great read to me book, or read on your own. Maybe I think second grade level reading, possibly third grade level. I guess it depends on how excited your kid is going to be about reading. But it's coming true. The inspiration that the little kernel of curiosity was put into my mind in 2022 on a dark and rainy night by catching, through lightning mostly, flashes of this slightly lit up ancient wall, turned into an inspiration that I cannot fully express how strong it was to make this dream of mine to publish come true. And here's the funny thing is, because now I see with how close we are with getting this book published, this kid's book published, that's actually what gave me the push and the drive to start writing the book about my cancer journey. So hopefully, I mean, probably not, the second one won't be published until after the kid's book is published. I'll have a second book coming out. And then, of course, going through into the future, I'd love to have more episodic books having to do with The Castle by the Stoplight, my series that I have. So that's giving you a little bit of a hint, the series name. And the first story, like I said, the story is written. We're working on the illustrations, and we should be going to print by mid-August. And I am so excited and so thrilled. I have to encourage you, follow inspiration. When it hits, when it is so strong that quite literally, like I said, it was so strong that especially this last visit last year, were literally like the words were just flowing out onto the page. I went to just write, I want to write about this one sentence, and I've outlined the entire story. And I had that happen 3-4 more times with about 6 or 7 ideas just coming down when, for a year or 2 prior, I couldn't come up with anything else for like a year. After that first story, nothing else was coming. So find that place that inspires you. And I don't mean it doesn't have to just be about writing. For me, it was writing. But for you, it could inspire you to do anything. But there's a place maybe, or an idea, something that's not leaving you alone. That is inspiration. And that's what I encourage you to grab onto with 2 hands and let it take you for a ride. It's not going to always be instantaneous, the results. And sometimes that ride is a little bit of a roller coaster. But let me tell you, it is 1,000% worth it. So I hope this little story about how inspiration has helped me come to make one of my dreams come true of becoming a published author. I hope that it inspires you to take those moments of inspiration, to find those places of inspiration, and let it take you on an adventure. Let it take you to having your dreams come true in that way. So I'm a big believer in making your dreams come true. So I hope everybody is having a wonderful time. We'll be back again soon with another episode. And I hope you guys are always finding things to smile about and laugh about every day. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.